I guess you were the first one getting him a shot because he got cut his freshman year. So he was kind of talking about. He was like, "Yo, you gotta ask Holmes if he remembers. There's a guy named Claude.
Claude had the potential to be a beast. He was a physical beast, just a big, strong joker. Little unstable up here at times.
He told me to ask you about a time in the locker room. Something must have happened. I guess Rashawn Reese, or that's his name, was going through a game where he just didn't pass the ball. He looked Claude off. Claude got angry in the middle of, I guess, halftime or something like that. Maybe he like punched him in the face or something crazy like that.
I'm not sure I remember that. Yeah, now that you mentioned, I kind of maybe vaguely remember some type of scuffle. I don't know. I remember what I do remember one time was I think we were at East Orange, and I guess we weren't playing well. And we were walking into the locker room, and I think I was holding the what was considered the med kit back then, but it was like a metal, like almost like a lunch bucket kind of thing. And Bailey said, give me that. And he walked in, and he just threw it against the wall. The stuff went flying everywhere.
He mentioned that too, actually, in the other.
He just wanted to shake everybody up. It was funny.
Yeah, I know, and
Until who else we had? You know who else we had who was good that played with Claude was Fran Nichols.
Was he with Drew or was he with Paul?
Fran was he wasn't with us the first year, so he came second or third. I don't remember exactly when. He was at Essex Catholic and then he transferred to us. But he and Claude were, I think, the same year. So I'm not sure.
I know I always see them together, but I don't know. I know he was in Drew's. He was definitely in Drew's year because I don't know if he was supposed to be or whatever, but he did. He was with Russell's brother, so I remember that. One of the things that everybody was mentioning was, all the everyone from Desmond to Drew to Keith were talking about Fran. So they said that apparently, I guess he must have transferred from Essex Catholic, and there was all his hype from this kid coming from Essex Catholic, and he came over and he was just, I guess, some people naming him in their top three.
Yeah, Fran was pretty good. He was tough. He was athletic. I saw on one of those, either one of the podcasts you did or maybe somebody just commented about Phoenix, and I actually think Fran was a little bit better than Phoenix.
Really?
I think he was headier. I think his IQ was better. But he's not gonna like that I tell you this story. So we were playing Orange in the quarterfinals of the ECT, and I don't think Columbia had ever been to the semifinals. It would have been our first chance in the semis ever. And we came back in the last minute. We were behind, and we tied the game. It was under a minute to go, and Fran apparently didn't realize that we tied the game, and he committed an intentional foul. They called him for an intentional foul, and Orange got 2 shots in the ball, and that was it. We lost.
That's funny. Keith also mentioned that in the episode with him.
Oh yeah.
He told me who it was. He said somebody.
It was Fran.
It was Fran.
Every once in a while, I still mess with him about that.
And
sometimes I just look at him and go like this.
And you guys end up losing that game?
Yeah. It was tied. I don't know for a fact, but I guess they made the 2 free throws, and then maybe we had the foul, and they made those after that. They were down 4, and we lost.
Okay, and you were also part of that team, if I'm not mistaken, part of the coaching staff that beat Seton Hall for the first time in a long time, at least in the Bailey era, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's true. They were down a little, probably. They were young. That's when Steve Ricciardi and Ryan Peterson were sophomores, I guess, and starters in the backcourt for them. And we got a win. And I'm still friends with Steve Ricciardi to this day. He coaches at North Bergen, and actually helped Steve get to NJIT on scholarship there, and then he ended up transferring to Rutgers Newark. But he always tells me, he's like, yep, I guess I didn't remember it, but I guess Bailey called a timeout in the last minute where we already had the game sealed. Like he kind of rubbed it in. And he's like, and then he said their coach, Bob Farrell, who's really legendary, said, remember this. And the next year they probably kicked our ass, so paid us back.
Now, speaking about that, because I remember talking to Keith, and the players that they had on the team that he's naming, I recall being pretty good. It was Keith, Fran. I think there was he named some guy named Tim. I think it's Tim Roberson or something like that.
Tim was tough, man. He was funny too.
That's who Harold named in his top 3 guards all the time that he's seen.
Tim was tough. Really good defensively. Really good defensively. And he would talk as he was playing. It was funny. Like he'd be pull up in the lane. He'd be like, teardrop. Talking to people while they were going.
Okay. And I think I want to say maybe he said, explaining to me what the issue was with his team was they were just too small. He was saying basically, I remember him saying maybe Doug, who everybody knows is fresh now. I think he was playing center, maybe possibly, and he just recalls a game you guys lost to, ending the season losing to Elizabeth.
Oh yes, that was in the state playoffs. No, yeah, was it Elizabeth? Yeah, we were down in Elizabeth, and it was against Elizabeth too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's when. So you say stuff, and I start remembering stuff. So now I got to call out another guy. So Maurice Hunter was a sophomore on that team. You guys, you know who that is?
Apparently, from the first thing that comes out everybody's mouth when they speak about him is he was lazy. That's all I know.
He was, but he was very talented, and he I don't know if he was starting for us. He might have been starting, but he played, and he was one of the bigger guys, and he didn't play in that game because he had just gotten an earring, and he decided not to play.
The coach wouldn't let him play, or he decided not to play?
He decided not to play. He wouldn't take the ear. You can't play with him. And when they told him to take it out, he wouldn't do it. I would say at this point he was probably scared. Sophomore state playoffs. He wouldn't take his earring out, and he just didn't play in the game.
That's crazy. That's a similar story, actually. I remember somebody telling me about. Later on, I'll get to it about Stanley. I remember him coming. We were playing Seton Hall my sophomore year, and I think it was the last game he ever played, actually. He showed up to the game, and then, at the end of the third quarter of the JV game, we usually go into the locker room. And I think he showed up, either forgot his boxes or he had a hole in his boxes or something like that, and just went home and just never came back. And he was like a starter. Yeah. Something like that.
I actually don't remember. It's funny you say it and these things. I kind of remember having something with Stanley, but so that might have been it. I don't remember the details.
All right, so yeah, moving on from that. Now I remember. I don't know. Was this your last year at Columbia? Another player that comes up that everybody pretty much named their top forward list was Howard.
Yeah, I mean, he was only with us 1 year. He was at St. Pat, or was it 2 years? I think he transferred in the middle of his junior year, and he came from St. Pat's, and talented for sure, and a little bit big head, and I don't think he met the hype at all, for what everybody expected. That being said, he was talented, and now that I think about it, it's funny, names are starting to come back to me. So he played with Carl Thompson. Carl Thompson was one of the toughest kids ever. Anybody mention his name?
Russell.
Huh?
Russell
mentioned yeah, Carl was tough. Little small guard. He was really tough. And Carl and Howard played together. I remember we won I think it was a buzzer beater against Caldwell in the ECT. Carl hit the buzzer. I think he hit the game winner, if I remember correctly. And then I don't remember who we played the next round. I think we lost, but whatever. Carl was tough.
Okay. He had some brothers or something too, right?
Yeah, we had an older brother, Jason. Jason was a senior our first year, me and Bailey's first year, and we wanted him to play, but he didn't. He was a star in the football team, and they were just tough kids. Their father just made them really tough kids. He would have helped us if he played, but he didn't play.
Okay, yeah, I think his sister actually was in my sister's grade. I want to say, I think there was like a lot of them or something like that.
And his sister eventually became our manager. She was younger, and she became a manager for us.
Yeah, she was the manager when I was a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
You know who else was pretty good? Anybody ever mentioned Ryan James?
Yes, they did. Is that Keith was talking about him? Drew spoke about him. I always get him mixed up with some other guy. I think I could have swore his last name was Scott or something like that, but apparently we probably talking about the same person. That was in Fran's year, right? Or
around the same time. I can't remember exactly who was matched up with who. But Ryan was tough. He ended up going to Wilkes to play football. He was good. And I think Ryan played a lot of varsity as a sophomore. He had a good career for us.
Okay. Yeah, and he was kind of like an undersized big man, right?
Sort of, yeah. Wing, but yeah, kind of like you said, we didn't have a lot of size, so he kind of had to play big, technically speaking, play the bigger spots.
Okay. And kind of explain what went on with you, because I mean, I remember you when I was in middle school coming to my games, stuff like that. My mother didn't want me to go to Columbia, and I was either gonna go to Seton Hall or I think it was St. Pat, something else. I didn't want to go. I wanted to go to Columbia because, I mean, keep it real. Honestly, and in retrospect, I really didn't take basketball that seriously, probably as I should have. I was just playing because at the time I was good. Really, honestly, I really love basketball, but I really just wanted to play with my friends. So, like, I kind of like floated in and out of that floated in and out of my importance. I would say, like, as far as, you know, I didn't do the necessary things to get better because, I mean, honestly, I love coaching way more than I love playing. You know, I wanted to play the games, but I didn't really want to do anything else. You know, to keep it honest with you, practice and all this other stuff, man, I didn't really want to do it. And that's probably why I didn't get much better. But I remember that year. So I remember you recruiting me hard or telling me, listen, you got to go to Columbia. And my mom finally says, yes, okay, you can go to Columbia. And then that year, you didn't coach. When I got there, you weren't there.
I got screwed by the human resource lady at the Board of Ed. So they made me, when you were in 8th grade, I guess, they made me stop coaching in the middle of the season.
In the middle of the season?
Okay. Middle of the season, they said my substitute certificate had expired. And so it turned, in reality, it actually had been expired for 2 years because when I first got it, it's a 3-year certificate, and that was the first time I was ever doing it. First time I coached. So they kept the original in the Board of Ed office, so I didn't even realize that it expired. And I coached for 2 seasons without anybody saying anything. And then apparently they got some new lady, and in the middle of the season, she says, "Well, your certificate's expired. You can't coach anymore." And they were going to make me go through the whole process again. And then in order to do that, you probably know, you got to go get fingerprinted, and that takes a long time.
Yeah.
And so the season was going to be over. And I was really disappointed in the AD, who didn't really seem to step up for me at all. He just went along with it. So, season was over, and next season I just moved on to an assistant job at NJIT.
Yeah,
and that's
kind of
like, freshman, probably.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of seem to like land up, kind of like Lane Kiffin, right?
Yeah, in hindsight, it probably ended up being a good thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, because you definitely probably would have been the front runner to take over after Bailey left. And then, you go to William Patterson. So kind of explain to me like what the difference was when you went from Columbia to the college game.
So I went and joined the staff of the coach that I played for at NJIT. And he was in his probably like 19th year. But he was he was preoccupied with a lot of other stuff. So the first year I was there, and he was like, he was not only the coach, he was the AD. And yet he was selling like real estate on the side, and he was like hustling. So he like walk out of practice in the middle of practice on the phone. He did it a lot, and so basically I would take over, and I kind of ran the practices a lot. And because I remember at the end of the year, going into the next year, I told him, I said, you got to stop walking out of practice. And he got mad. He said, why? I said, because they don't respect you. So I was there for 2 years. He got fired. And then I had to go look for another job when he got fired. And the second year I was at NJIT, we changed conferences, and we joined that same conference with Bloomfield. So the Bloomfield coach at the time, the first year that I was at NJ, the second year I was at NJIT was his first year at Bloomfield. And he saw me on the road all the time recruiting. So when I approached him I called him about joining his staff, and he said yes right away. He didn't, no interview, nothing. He just told me yes, because he had seen me out hustling. And I always appreciated that. So I joined his staff, and the next year he left. He didn't get fired. He took he took the AD job at Morris County College, which he still has to this day. And at first I was like, damn, 2 years in a row, I'm going to be looking for another job. But fortunately for me, they gave me the job at Bloomfield.
Yeah, that's real fortunate, man. Because when I was at Columbia, after I left, it was like the opposite. Like, you know what I mean? So I was like, well, what should I do? I was like, well, I'll take a year off. I had a kid and my daughter, then I ended up having my son. And then I really didn't see too much, out there that I actually really would, like to do at the time. Probably reached out to one college coach. I think it was a D2 coach in, damn, what's the name of that school? They just became, it was an all-girls school, I want to say, all-women's school, and it became
Georgian Court.
What was it?
Georgian Court.
Georgian Court, that's it. Yeah,
they're
I
in our
remember reaching out to that coach and telling him, and he was kind of like, okay, and then something, I remember him asking me, he was like, well, I don't really need a coach. I was just going to volunteer. But he was like, we can look into it if, you're willing to, do some administrative stuff, because that's really what he needed at the time, I guess. Like, he just needed an assistant coach to take care of the paperwork and things like that. And I was actually going to do that. But my wife ended up getting pregnant again. And then, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I get it.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's how I ended up. I mean, looking at you, like, because, and then Bloomfield ended up, if I'm not mistaken, right, a couple of years being one of the best D2 teams in the country. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I would say our third year, we could say we were one of the better teams. And then ever since, we've always been pretty much in contention. We've finished first place in our conference regular season 11 times in the last 15 years. And we've won 7 conference tournament championships, been to the NCAAs 8 times, 3 Sweet 16s, and 1 Elite 8. So that's what I tell recruits. I say, we're one of the better D2 teams in the East region over the last decade.
Most definitely. That's for sure. I definitely know that. And you had some players coming through there. I remember Andre Dadney, especially.
Yeah, Dre was special.
Yeah, he was. Did he end up playing? He played for you all 4 years?
Mm-hmm. Scored when he finished, he was the all-time leading scorer, 2,300 plus points.
Wow,
now he's number 2.
Who's number 1?
Gage Day. Gage scored 2,500. Gage is now my assistant.
Cool.
Gage played in the D League for a minute, and then 3 years in Australia.
Okay.
I'm surprised, but I guess you're sort of detached a little bit. If people from the area know Gage, because over the last few years, he's destroyed the Pro-Am in East Orange and the Jersey Shore League. He averages over 40.
Really?
Yeah, there's a big saying now. I mean, it's over. He's pretty much retired after, I guess, last year, or really 2 years ago. But
Where's he from?
He's from Newark. He played at St. Mary's Elizabeth. And everybody in the the famous saying at the East Orange Pro-Am was, "Who got Gage?" Come up the court. Who got Gage?
What year did he come out?
He graduated high school in 07, I think. So 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, he graduated in 07. He finished with me in 2011.
Okay. Yeah, I probably do know